In the hills of West Lothian, Scotland, a quiet road winds through farmland and moor. It's unremarkable. A place that, in most circumstances, would leave no trace on history. But one summer night in 1992, two men travelling that road experienced something that would mark their lives permanently and offer one of the most enduring anomalies in modern British UFO research. This is the A70 abduction. On the night of the 17th of August 1992, Garry and Colin Wright left Edinburgh to deliver a satellite television system to a friend near the remote village of Tarbrax. They drove along the A70, a sparsely travelled road crossing open countryside. There was no traffic, no particularly bad weather, no distractions. And then, as they approached a bend near Hypnotic Reservoir, they saw something above the road. They described it as a large, black, disc-shaped craft, about 30 feet in diameter, hanging silently about 20 feet above the road surface. In its centre, a pulsing core of light, not bright, but unnatural, as though space itself were shimmering. Garry, who was driving, accelerated instinctively, hoping to pass underneath it. But then a brilliant flash of light filled the car, and the world around them disappeared.
Now, Garry, tell me, what happened?
Well, me and my friend Colin Wright, we were travelling, heading towards a place called Tarbrax. From Oxgangs to there, it's a half-hour drive. I was looking at this object, just floating about 20 feet above the road. The object must have been about 30-odd feet wide.
So it was huge?
It was fairly big in size. When seeing the object, in my mind, it didn't conform to any like helicopter or any vehicle I've seen before.
They regained awareness moments later, or so it seemed to them, and the car was still in motion, but they were disoriented. The road looked unfamiliar, their surroundings subtly wrong. When they arrived at their destination, the friend noted that their appearance was pale and shaken, as though they'd been through some traumatic event. They soon realized that more than 90 minutes had passed, and it was time for which they had zero memory at all. In the days that followed, Garry began experiencing intrusive images, strange corridors, metal surfaces, mechanical noises, and beings that were not human. In search of understanding, he contacted Malcolm Robinson, a Scottish researcher with strange phenomena investigations and one of the few at the time actively investigating UFO cases in the UK. Robinson interviewed both men separately, and their accounts were consistent in content and tone, and soon both agreed to undergo regression hypnosis.
It was just a craft of some sort, and then for some reason I just got really frightened, really scared.
Not surprised. And what happened?
As I went underneath the object, the craft emitted like a shimmering curtain, like a beam of some light, and then everything went black. And I wasn't in the car, I couldn't see Colin, I'm standing up, I'm looking about in like just blackness.
Under hypnosis, Garry and Colin described being taken into a curved metallic chamber, their surroundings quiet and sterile. They encountered small humanoid figures with grey skin and thin bodies and large black eyes. Standing apart from these was a taller, robed figure, humanoid but distinct. Its role seemed to be that of a supervisory one. The witnesses reported being separated and subjected to scanning or some sort of examination, though they experienced no pain with this. What struck them most was the emotional coldness and the sensation that the beings were not indifferent as such, but entirely clinical. They recalled one final message, perceived telepathically. You will not remember.
And then what happened after that?
Then after that, I'm in the car, and the back end of the car's shunting out, and it's heading right across the road up towards the embankment.
So you went into a skid, and then I mean, how long did all that take?
Initially, I thought it took 15 seconds. The time I entered, saw the craft going into it, this like blackness with a shimmering curtain and that, and then on the road again. When I got to my destination, I actually got there about 1:45 in the morning.
Skeptics are right to question regression techniques. Memory under suggestion is unreliable, but several supporting elements remain with this case because both men had unexplained red marks on their skin. The pair developed temporary electrical problems, and how many times have we heard that in UFO cases? And most compellingly, independent witnesses in the same area reported also seeing unusual lights in the sky that same night. Robinson himself later wrote that these men were not hoaxes. They had nothing to gain. Something remarkable occurred. Garry Wood and Colin Wright never pursued publicity. Their story didn't change, and even decades later, both described the incident not as a dream or belief, but as something that actually happened. The A70 case is now considered one of the most credible alleged abductions in the UK. It's been the subject of investigations, books, and, perhaps most notably, it endures not as proof exactly, but as a carefully preserved record of a night that absolutely defies ordinary explanation. Encounters like these test the limits of our understanding and the strength of our disbelief. Perhaps there is nothing stranger on earth than how rarely we admit the limits of what we know, and we may return to this case in more depth at some point in the future, because I believe there is a lot more to be told.
I see these small creatures again, and bigger, taller ones. They were white in colour, grey, whitey colour. The small ones must have been about 3 feet high. The taller ones must have reckoned to be about 6 feet away above me. I was lying down and sort of basically looking up. I'm back in the car on the wrong side of the road, and the car's heading up the embankment. Colin's screaming, he's like panicking. Managed to gain control of the car. Didn't look back, I just drove as fast as I could.
You know, the frustration is that you meet so many reliable people who believe they've seen something extraordinary, and there's nobody who can or nobody who wants to tell them what that something extraordinary is.